add on to the Albright Knox, where you say, I just need to create something neutral, than it is to have a big complex with no personality and say, how do I create personality without it kind of looking silly? And this, I think, ties enough to what you have, but really is creating something with personality. And it really does tie in with the rest of it, but gives it some personality that's missing.
No, of course.
I actually one of the sharpest looking school buildings built in Western New York in decades.
So one of the other things that we're doing with the site buildings is trying to pull kind of the image of the Clint Small ticket booth into some of the other buildings. So the press box and the two smaller buildings underneath the bleachers, the concessions and the restrooms, will be the same material. So there will be kind of continuity in what you're seeing in those buildings also.
No pressure there.
What did you say, you still want to leave?
I heard it say that.
See what you're missing, Joe.
Yeah, that's true.
So how do we see the breakdown of what the rooms are gonna look like inside?
I don't have a current floor plan here, but conceptually it's pretty close here. So
Like,
here's-
I'm having a hard time visualizing what it was to what it is now. Like, can we get something that shows, like, this is what it was before, this is what it is now, this is what we had, this is what we're moving or changing or
Comparison.
losing? I need a comparison.
You mean the existing rooms within the building now?
Like, what we were going to change them to what they're being changed to now. Like, where are we losing space or adding space? Like you said, you're changing where the art rooms were gonna be.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
You have to go back.
Two slides, you're right there, yep.
Yeah.
Well, what we don't have is the old, if you stick with, yeah, okay. Actually, that's pretty good. There were 2 music rooms and 3 art rooms out front. The art rooms now, let's go back to the,
Stand where they are.
are gonna stay where they are.
Yeah, we're gonna
Yeah,
stay right
so
there.
these art rooms will stay where they are.
So your 3 art rooms you have there presently will be
There you
the
go.
same thing?
Yeah, okay.
And I think, you know, in the next decade, the district may well want to pull them all in so they're contiguous with the technology room, but that's something that could happen any time and is not
Yeah.
dependent on this project.
And then Mr. Novitz,
They seem to be
who's the
happy
one
with
tech
that.
teacher back here, would
I've talked to
relocate to the band room.
Any problem?
And then our middle school
Save
band
us some
room
money.
will be
Yep.
with the high school, they'll share.
Correct, and we've worked with them based on their scheduling and that, they were willing to have one larger ensemble room and one smaller. And actually, this third classroom does function as even an additional ensemble room.
How big was the fitness center before?
I was thinking change the
Fitness
size.
center.
By moving, I don't think it really changed all
Yeah,
that.
it does look like that.
Well, there's a story there.
Okay.
The fitness room was originally X big. When SED came back and said, we're not gonna pay you to renovate classrooms into locker rooms, you already have all these other locker rooms. Then we had this surplus of space in that wing. So we said, well, we'll just make the fitness center bigger. It had gotten almost absurdly large. What you have here is actually bigger than what we originally had planned on. But in that second phase, where we just didn't know what to do with all that space back there, we just made it larger.
So, does this renovation include buying new machinery to put in it? We're not just gonna have a renovated room with no new things to go in it, are we?
We're afraid to ask SED. We're gonna attempt to get the project to pay for that. If we ask SED, I'm 99% sure they're gonna say we don't pay for fitness equipment. What SED's policy is if you're building new classrooms, so if you are a growing district and you have to build a new classroom, they'll put furniture in it. If you're not adding classrooms, they won't furnish them. So if you move a classroom from here to there, they're not gonna buy you new furniture. And since we have the fitness room up where that storage space is now, we believe if we asked, the press here?
Yes.
We believe the project will pay for it. We'll be able to pay for it.
Because my concern is why move the fitness center over there if we're not gonna have an updated facility? Like, if we're just gonna have the same materials we have now, we might as well just update the room that it's in. It
Nah.
doesn't make any sense to move it.
Well, there's a number of reasons.
Well,
One
yeah, it's
is,
larger, but if it doesn't have anything good in it, what's the use?
the fitness center now is in an old garage. It is claustrophobic. It has like a 7-foot ceiling or maybe 7'6". This is,
It's not very well insulated either.
yeah, how much bigger? This is twice as big?
No, you can see here's
6%
your current fitness center, it's just about twice as big. What we've provided is now you have an area to have kind of class aerobics in addition to your Nautilus equipment, your cardio equipment. So we actually are working with, Brad as a consultant that has done a couple layouts for us
Oh,
with
good.
equipment in them.
As a plan B, the recommendation would be to lease the equipment.
Oh, okay.
Because in my past life, the equipment, especially if you're opening up to the public, you'll be hard pressed to get more than 3 or 4 years out of it
Right.
anyway. So if you lease it, it'll be maintained, and when the lease is up, you turn it over and you bring in new stuff because though all of that equipment that has moving parts gets wore out.
Right.
And it just happens that way. And by leasing it, you're spreading the cost over a couple, 3 years. You can usually work out a pretty good deal with the gentleman that Brad is talking to. So if you really couldn't, get it as part of the project per se, there are alternatives that are reasonable in terms of equipping the room with the more modern types of equipment.
Did you say that they're gonna be renovating the locker rooms? Or what are they doing to the locker rooms?
Up at the top, right,
Up here,
up on the top.
we're putting in an athletic style flooring.
Oh,
And we're reconfiguring the lockers so they function more as a team locker room, putting them around the perimeter as opposed to the rows that we have now. And I believe we're also fixing the ventilation, because in one of the two, the ventilation completely doesn't work.
Is there a locker room near the fitness room?
It's these two locker rooms here, so you would have to just go down the hall. There are restrooms right adjacent to it, but the locker rooms would be here. We are gonna put in a couple small lockers, so if you come in and you wanna lock up, small personal items, like a small gym bag, of course, you'll be able to do that.
Think of them as cubbies.
Yes, lockable cubbies. It's labeled as a music room.
In the choral room, are you gonna have, like the riser styles, or is it gonna be built-in risers? Is it just,
Right now, it has that kind of built-in sunken floor, and we are working with an acoustical consultant, and his recommendation to us was that it actually functions much better that layout with choral than it does for music instruction. So right now, it's in the project to be left that way, and we've worked with him, blanking on what her name is, your choral teacher. Yes, we've worked with her on that, and she's been part of those discussions, but we are replacing the flooring, we're putting in a new ceiling that's gonna have acoustical tiles in there, and also paneling on the walls, so it's amazing to me the science behind how you can kind of control all of that, but the actual arrangement and configuration of the floor is pretty conducive for choral.
well, with the size choral that we have now, but if it were to grow, to have your sopranos blasting out your baritone space right across, that wouldn't probably be, that U-shape wouldn't, if it were to grow, it wouldn't be
Right.
less.
Right.
So, it's just like she said.
And I guess, down the road, the option of bringing in portables or filling in that floor would obviously happen, but at this point, we kind of felt that it was okay functioning the way it was.
Okay.
The rooms that the district is gonna renovate, what are they? I can see the storage, but what are the others?
This one up here would become a storage room. This here is labeled as PTOT. Really, the room barely even requires a fresh coat of paint at best. So it is just being reprogrammed. We're changing the name on the door, so it doesn't really require any work by this project to do that. I think the room is even carpeted now, so. Similarly here, this is a special ed classroom that's gonna be, I believe this this is the one that's gonna be relocated off the mezzanine space, or they may be shuffled around, but there was a need for an additional special ed classroom, and this room was available. So again, that's just another one changing the name on the door. This room here would be technology. This is where Mr. Novitz would relocate from the fitness center area. And that room would require, of the 4 spaces tagged as district renovations, would require the most work because it probably would want the carpeting that's in there now pulled out. But other than that, the ceilings are in good shape and the condition of the walls are in good shape, so it probably would just be replacing the flooring. We have looked at all of these spaces for asbestos-containing materials, just so we know what's there. This area here, yeah. Yeah.
When will it be done?
Yeah.
When can we start?
Champagne bottle out tomorrow.
Do we have a schedule idea?
Peter, do you wanna address it, or?
Sure, we can talk a little bit about that. Well, probably looking at 8 months of construction on the addition and some of the renovation. And again, it's dependent on a number of things. One, how soon we can get review back from SED from the state. Those times have been stretching out. Again, within the last year, we were getting projects turned around in 4 weeks. Now it's closer to 10 to 12 weeks. Just the volume of things that they're dealing with, and projects that they have to review. So that's one impact. Obviously, we're weather dependent in our part of the world. We don't want to start building something in the middle of winter. It's just, we don't want to pay for what that cost is to build something in the middle of winter. If dollars go away, we never capture them in actual build improvements. So, long and short, we'd like to have the project out to bid at the tail end of the summer to be able to get the foundations in the ground this coming fall. That's kind of our best case scenario right now. That's if we can get things, if SED's work kind of trails off, and we can get back to more of a reasonable, 4 to 6 week review time. It's a pretty straightforward project. The bulk of it is site work. So if we can get a quick review out of SED, no problem getting in the ground at the tail end of the summer. Hopefully getting the building up and close to enclosed before weather turns really bad, which happens in a hurry here. And then basically finishing out next summer. And again, we'll need a good chunk of next summer to finish the bulk of what we have, which are site improvements. So that's kind of how it lays out. It would be starting, best case, tail end of the summer, beginning of the school year, and finishing up the following September.
Is anything different happening to the side directions? You said something about weather and.
The canopy.
Just build a canopy there.
Oh, I see,
Just
okay.
an overhang?
I gotcha. Thank you.
What is the length of distance from the Clint small press box to the entry? How much room is that?
To here?
Yeah,
The entry box or the press box?
whatever that entry box is.
That entrance, the ticket booth.
Maybe 50 feet, 60 feet? Not much.
We'll just put a camera on there so kids don't destroy it.
One of the things that the board would like is, can we get a hard copy of this information, or, so we can have it, so we can get it in their packet this week, so they can review it and talk about
Yeah,
it?
if they,
Look
I mean,
at it,
even if they can send it to us in an attachment.
that'd be cool.
Well, we can leave the disc right here.
And
Beautiful.
collection.
Yeah, we can do that.
Can you forward us the?
I got a desk drawer full,
Yeah, we will.
You what?
I have a desk drawer full of their thumb drives.
Yep,
Oh,
we'll fire it out to you guys.
Souvenirs. We'll make a necklace.
It's pretty exciting.
and then how often do we have meetings to update, like, what the progress is going on?
How often do you wanna meet?
Well, I don't necessarily wanna meet, but I would like to get a report of, like, things that are changing, like major, like every, have some kind of, like, minutes or something.
When would be the next logical time, Brian? as
Well,
far as-
there will be no changes to the project between now and when it goes to bid. We will be getting estimates and we'll be making adjustments, but they're adjustments that really wouldn't begin to rise to the board level. What's an example?
Well, possibly when you send an update up to the superintendent, and you have one of your slice meetings, that you just update the board in our Friday packet, just to bring us up to speed.
Or could you have a meeting somewhere late June, early July
Yeah.
that shows,
Where we are at that
interiors,
point.
what they look like, what
We
does
actually-
the inside of the band room look like, what is the, what is some of the, what's the office look like, just so that they get an idea.
That timing would be terrific because then we'll know where SED is with their
So I
review
should
time,
say-
and then we'll be able to say, we're gonna be in the ground in November or in March, and we'll know then. That'd be a good time.
I think it's important, I think I speak for the board as a whole, that the community is so involved and is so curious about the project. To have a community member walk up to a board member and say, so what's going on with the project? To be a board member and say, I don't know, no one's updated me yet.
That's not so
That's
good.
not the answer that we want to have on
Not
the
so
tip of our
good.
tongues. We want to be able to say, well, I just got an update the other day, and, we're here. Or do it at a public meeting, have Dr. Van Tine update the public, then it goes into the press. But, it may not be, Tonawanda is not your typical community. They want to know what's going on. So in other communities, it may be something where it's not something that you need to update the board on. In this community, it is a necessity because our people want to know.
Well, first and foremost, if you guys want us to come to every board meeting, we will. We'll certainly let you know when we get something that we think is important. The delay here was caused by, I think, what's the date on that drawing, March or February?
Yeah, February.
We had that drawing ready in February. Whitney said, can I show it to the board? And we said, we need to finish the estimate first, because the last thing we want to do is show the board the drawing and then say, oh, we got a budget problem. And by the time we had the estimate pulled together, you guys were in the middle of your budget sections, and Whitney said it's just not a good time. Unfortunately, probably 3 weeks earlier, we would have been all set, we would have beat the budget discussions, but it's just the way it worked out. So it was,
I think I would have done that, actually.
we simply, we didn't want to show you something that we then had to backtrack on because of
And
budget.
that's perfect.
That's good.